Right, today's video will be a quick one, because the subject of the video, soda bread, is very quick and easy to make. The key thing here is to have all your ingredients ready and your oven preheated even before you start mixing anything. And as the name suggests, we'll be using bicarbonate of soda to make this bread rise. The reason this works is because bicarbonate of soda is alkaline and we'll be adding acid to it, in this case the buttermilk. Now mixing something alkaline with something acidic creates gas in a chemical reaction, and this will make the dough puff up. And that is why we are going to have to work quickly, because as soon as you add the buttermilk to the dry mix, the dough will start puffing up. And if it puffs up too much, it might just collapse back in on itself. So let's start by preheating our oven to 180 degrees with fan, or 200 without. Now onto the equipment. You'll need scales, a bowl, a dough scraper, and just a little piece of parchment paper to prevent the dough from sticking. One thing I missed here is a baking sheet or a cast iron pot or something to bake your bread on. And then for the ingredients, you'll need white flour, wholemeal flour, diced feta cheese, sunflower seeds, salt, bicarbonate of soda, and buttermilk. You'll also need more flour to dust your table so the dough doesn't stick to it. And remember to always clean down before you start any work. So to make the dough, we'll start by adding all the dry ingredients together and mixing them. From your two types of flour, salt, the bicarbonate of soda, and then the seeds. We want to mix everything together before we add the diced feta cheese, because we don't want to break it up too much. We want to leave nice cubes in the dough. Once you've added your feta, just dust it lightly with the flour, just so it doesn't stick together. So now we are ready to add our last ingredient, the buttermilk. You can also use yogurt, but make sure it's not too thick. And remember, as soon as your buttermilk hits your flour and bicarbonate mix, it will start reacting. So we want to work as quickly as possible, so get your dough scraper and mix everything together. We just want to mix the dough, we don't want to knead it, we don't need any gluten development. The gluten will inhibit the dough from rising. The looser the dough is, the better really, but you don't want any dry bits of flour in it, so make sure you mix it thoroughly. Once you're happy with the mix, dust your table with some flour. This will prevent the dough from sticking, and it'll also give the dough nice texture on the surface. So tip your dough ball right into the middle of the flour and just roll it around. It's quite a similar method to the rye bread I did a couple of weeks ago. You can watch that up here. What you want to do is just roll the dough around. There's no art here, just make it a nice little ball, make sure all the surfaces are covered, and then place it on your little parchment paper, ready for baking. At this point your oven should be nicely preheated, together with your baking vessel, which I forgot to mention earlier when I was calling out all the equipment, but obviously you need to bake your bread on something, so. I will be using a cast iron skillet, and I suggest you get a cast iron skillet. They're not cheap, but they'll last you a lifetime. But if you don't have one, just use a thick bottom tray or even a Pyrex dish. Now to get that classic soda bread look, we'll get our dough scraper and cut across in the loaf. Make sure you don't cut all the way through, leave about an inch at the bottom. Now what this cross does, besides just looking nice, it'll make the dough easier to break off when it's ready, and also it will help it to cook more evenly in the middle. So now we're ready to go. Pop it in the oven for 30 minutes and watch the magic happen. Once it's thoroughly baked, it should feel nice and light in the hand. Once you tap the bottom, it should make hollow sound. Now if you're not sure, what you can do is stick a temperature probe in the dough, and if it reads any higher than 94 degrees Celsius in the center, that means it's baked. Now this will work for any bread, But obviously I don't encourage you sticking a probe in your dough every time you're not sure, because if you keep baking, you'll be able to tell this by experience, just by feel. So that's soda bread. Very easy to make. It takes no more than 1 hour, including the time to preheat your oven. All you need to do now is have some patience and willpower to let this cool down completely, and then tuck in. Serve it with your favorite soup, or just break off a piece while it's still slightly warm, spread some butter and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions, write them down in the comments. I'll make sure to answer every one of them. And subscribe if you like to see more baking videos. I'll be posting every Wednesday. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.